Good day, my friends. We are going to dive into one item that's on my calendar that I've had a few questions about. I'm going to mention two events that just happened this week, and this calendar event has come up multiple times, and people have reached out to me after the event, even some during the events, and saying, "Oh my gosh, I'd love to learn more about this particular item on your calendar, and can I actually get a copy of it?" So let's walk through what's on there. Now, you'll notice that I have unchecked most of my calendars here. So all you're seeing is my personal calendar right now. And this pops up every Tuesday morning at 7:30, and I just call it Foundational Principles. And sometimes I change that title. I think a couple days ago it was titled something else. Right now, that's just what I'm titling it, because that's what's motivating me right now. So let's walk through this. You're going to go through a key principle that's on the top here, then a couple things that for myself, I consider learnable skills and superpowers. You're going to see some additional key principles. You're going to see some quotes. A lot of them you're going to notice, Breckheimer, you're quoting yourself. Darn right I am. Okay, here's why. What I do is I pay attention to what I say on a regular basis. And if I'm saying the same thing over and over again, I'm going to throw it in front of my face. And if I read through it every single week and I go, I don't even believe that, I can't stand that phrase or whatever, then stop saying it. Okay. If you don't like the words that are coming out of your mouth, I say, if anything that comes out of your mouth, I hope it gets thrown back in your mouth. And if you don't like the taste of it, stop saying it. So that's what I'm doing to myself. I'm a little tough on myself here. Then from there, additional quotes that mean something to me, and then the 10 scrolls and the 4 agreements. So let's go through these one by one. The very first thing at the top is always my reminder, because this changed my life years ago, a couple decades ago, but it's a Les Brown formula. He basically stated, read one book per month in one area, and in 5 years, you'll be among the top 5% experts in the world. What he was talking about is what actually means something to you. Now, when I heard this, what I didn't have in my life was something I considered peace and contentment. I was dealing with depression. We won't go into all of that. I was not in my best place, and I felt like I did not have true peace and contentment. So when I heard this, I decided that for 5 years, I would go ahead and read one book per month on the topic of peace and contentment. Now, it's impossible, and I mean literally impossible, and I'd love anyone to try to prove me wrong. I don't think you can, and that is this. You cannot read one new book per month every month for 5 years on peace and contentment and not have the following topics thrown in your face: peace, contentment, joy, gratitude, compassion, and empathy. I'm telling you right now, I think it's impossible to read 5 years worth of books on peace and contentment and not have those other topics thrown in your face. And I'm crazy grateful for that, because you'll see that shows up a little later here too. Okay. So, key ingredient while you're working through each book, purposely and intentionally putting in the work to apply what you've actually been reading and auditing it for effectiveness. I could care less if you take the actions if you're not paying attention to whether the actions that you're taking are truly and freakishly over the top effective. So you audit for effectiveness. If it's not effective, then audit, what are you missing here? What part of that teaching did you not get? Then try again and reapply. A lot of times, sometimes it helps to have a coach or an accountability partner or something like that. The next thing, these three is what I consider both learnable skills and freaking superpowers. So the power of the pause is a freaking superpower. To be emotional and not to be in complete control of your emotions, in the sense that you want to say something, do something, take some action, and you don't have the actual power to go ahead and just pause for a moment to respond rather than react. I'm telling you, that is a learnable skill, but once you own that skill, it is a freaking superpower. To be the true embodiment, that's a key word for me, embodiment. To be the embodiment of the power of the pause is huge in my world. Self-awareness is a freaking superpower. Okay. Now, you can be self-aware, but then do nothing about what you're self-aware. So that's just a start. That's a starting place. That's not the whole package, but self-awareness is a freaking superpower. Then when you're self-aware, the next superpower is being honest and having some humility around what you are noticing. And I can go into all of these much, much deeper, but I am throwing these types of things in my face all the time because they mean that much to me. So power of the pause, self-awareness, honesty, and humility go hand in hand with me. Additional keys. Everything we do is informed by, filtered through, and audited against. Those three things are important to me. Everything we do, everything we say, every action that we take is informed by, filtered through, and audited against peace, contentment, joy, gratitude, compassion, and empathy. Where do you think I got those? Okay, that was from those years of study on peace and contentment. Next, everything we do needs to be scalable, duplicatable, freakishly predictable, efficient, and effective. And being truly effective, the key word here is effective, is going to be more important than trying to create efficiencies. Being truly effective will most likely result in us being more efficient. I'm not going to go into all of that, but these are key concepts to me. The 10 scrolls and 4 agreements are foundational concepts that we will always reference and return to. So you'll see that the complete 4 agreements and the complete 10 scrolls are copied below. But they're huge to me. What I put on my calendar reflects the human I want to be, and then the human I want to become. I'm sorry. What I put on my calendar reflects the human I want to be and the human I want to become. I do not see my calendar as my reality. It's just a plan for who I want to be and who I want to become professionally and personally. Now, my calendar is nothing more than a plan. Just because I put it on my calendar doesn't mean that it's going to happen that way. Okay. It's just not my reality. My planner then is how I document my reality. So I'm going to open up to a blank page on a planner. So this would be a planner. And then from there, what I do throughout the day is I try to follow my plan, which is my Google Calendar. Then what I do is I document what really happened that day. So some people struggle with journaling. They've tried, they've stopped, they've tried, they've stopped. This is a version of journaling. So my calendar is my plan, and then in my planner, I am actually documenting my reality, and I can put statements in there and comments about it and what it was, how I felt during it, how effective I was, blah 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 blah. I use this particular planner. It's called the High Performance Planner by Brendan Burchard, and the reason why is because I like the prompts. Yes, it has a typical day in here from, what is it, 6 a.m. until 7:30 p.m. But what I also like is it gives me some prompting questions in the morning, some prompting questions at night, and a couple questions across the top. So I'll just read a few of those so you can see why I like this, because then I'm using it to document my reality, but also journal a little bit. So morning mindset, one thing I can get excited about today. It's already asking me right away, what are you going to get excited about today? Next one, if one word could describe the kind of person I want to be today. I love that it's getting to the human side of things. Then that word would be, and why would I choose it? Next, someone who needs me on my A game today. That could be personal, that could be professional, that could be your children. Next one, a situation that might stress me out or trip me up today could be, so call it out right now. What could trip you up today? And then it asks the following question, the way that my best self, not how are you going to handle it, how would your best self handle it? I don't care how you're going to handle it. What I care about is how would your best self handle it? Now ask yourself, now that you've answered what your best self would, how they would handle it, why don't you just handle it that way? And it goes on and on. I'm not going to read each one of them. Then I'll read some of the end of the day. A moment that I really appreciated today, appreciated, grateful for, a situation or task I handled well today. In other words, what it's doing, it's starting you off by saying, what are you grateful for? And what were you awesome at? Okay. So often we're so hard on ourselves. I'm certainly hard on myself, but I love that this prompts me to say, come on, you did something great today. What'd you do today that you're proud of? Okay. Or that you handled well. Something that I realized or learned today. Next, I could have made today even better if. something that could have helped me feel more connected to others. I love it. It's going back to the human side now. Okay. So those types of things. So that's why I very much distinguish the difference between calendar versus planner. Calendar is your plan. I'm sorry. Yeah, your calendar is your plan. Your planner is a way to document your reality. And then that planner, if you're using it that way, can also become your journal. It's just an interesting way to think about journaling. Okay. So anyways, that's what's on there. It's just reminding me of that. The next thing is of course, again, key statements that are important to me. And they're things that I see and notice coming out of my mouth on a regular basis. And if I keep reading these and I don't like the sound of them, then just stop saying them, David. Okay. Again, so I'm throwing my own beliefs right in my face. And if I don't even buy into what I'm looking at here, I've got to potentially either put some extra work in, or I've just got to say, what I'm saying is wrong. Get rid of it. So I'm constantly saying mini wins are huge. Mini wins are huge. Mini wins are huge. I believe that to my core. Next one. Who I am sometimes is who I am all the time. I am not one person at work and a different person in front of my family. No way, no how. I'm not interested in that. And some people, that's a key ingredient for them. They turn a switch and they're one way professionally, and then when they're done with work that day, they flip a switch and they're a different person in front of their family, their loved ones, or anything. To me, that's freaking exhausting. I have no interest in that whatsoever. I can't say that that's right or wrong for other people. I'm saying I know for a fact it's not right for me. I just want to be one consistent human from front to back. So that's why I put that in front of my face. Being present isn't a goal. I'm not trying, I don't have a goal to be present. I have a goal to have an active gratitude practice. And to be grateful, I've got to be looking for things to be grateful. To be looking for, to be seeking out is almost the definition of presence. Okay, so to me, being present isn't a goal. It's actually a reward. Okay, so the goal is to have an active gratitude practice and constantly be hyper aware, self aware, actively looking for things. And that, the reward of that is that presence. To me, it's a reward. So I'm constantly reminding myself of that. Next, we can go into something nervous or curious. Choose curiosity. Oh my gosh, that fits on so many different levels, personally and professionally. I won't go into it, but constantly saying to myself, be better, do better. Now, constantly I'm using my last name with myself. I'm a little tough on myself. So it's frickin' Breckheimer, be better, do better. Okay. So that's kind of the way I talk to myself. Some of you are like, dude, you got a problem. Maybe. Okay. Next one. Don't worry about being heard or seen. Ugh, that concept drives me nuts. Okay. Worry about other things, such as focus on being freakishly effective. Freakishly effective. And if you are found to be truly effective, then by definition, you are seen and heard. Okay. So if you are effective, okay, by definition, weren't you seen and heard? How could you possibly have been effective if you weren't seen or heard? You're trying to do something, they heard you, they saw you, and what you shared with them was effective. Okay. I'm not worried about being seen and heard. I just don't care about it. What I care about is what I'm doing is freakishly effective. And if I'm freakishly effective, first of all, I could care less about being seen and heard. But if I'm truly effective in my relationship, in my business, and everything else like that, then by definition, I was seen and heard. So it's focusing on, for me, focusing on the right things, and being seen and heard is not the right thing to focus on. Being effective is the right thing to be focused on. Next one, emotional self-control. This is just a quote that means a lot to me. Og Mandino, weak is he who permits his thoughts to control his actions. Strong is he who forces, permits versus forces. Okay. Strong is he who forces his actions to control his thoughts. Okay. So even if my thoughts are one thing, I might take a different action. And a lot of times when you take that action, even though your thoughts aren't that, your emotions aren't that, you're scared. Okay. You have real fear, but you took an action. Now that action builds that confidence. And all of a sudden, that action is what determined your new feeling, your new emotional state. So I'll read that again. Weak is he who permits his thoughts to control his actions, and strong is he who forces his actions to control his thoughts. Next, sometimes your joy is the source of your smile, but sometimes your smile can be the source of your joy. Yes, 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 yes. It kind of says the same thing as the previous one if you really think about it. Okay. And then these are quotes from Thich Nhat Hanh. Thich Nhat Hanh also says, don't just smile, practice smiling throughout the day, multiple times throughout the day. Just out of nowhere, go, oh, I got to be practicing, and just smile. Okay. You can smile when you're at home by yourself. You can smile if you're at Target or at the grocery store, anything else like that. Practice, practice, practice. Okay. Even when you don't feel like it, because sometimes joy is a source of your smile, but sometimes your smile can be the source of your joy. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Quote that sets the standard. Okay. So I'm just saying right now, not everyone's going to like this quote. I have no other quote that scares me more. Literally, there is no other quote on God's green earth that scares me more than this next one, but it's the one that I will throw in front of my face and have thrown in front of my face for years now. Be such a man and live such a life that if every man were such as you and every life like yours, the earth would be a God's paradise. Jeez Louise, is that way too high of a goal or what? And I certainly don't live up to that in any way, shape, or form, but you got to have something to shoot for. And man, that is shooting for the moon and then some. So I keep it in front of my face. It is an intimidating quote to me. And it's not from Og Mandino, but it was in an Og Mandino book that he was quoting someone else. And when I read that, uh, it rocked me to my core. And then Philippians 4:11 through 13. The reason why that one's so important to me is that was when my study around peace and contentment started, and why I chose peace and contentment for my 5-year study. And that was due to the fact that I always thought of in Philippians that when he was talking about peace and contentment, that I don't know how I missed this for so many years. It's almost like he was gifted from God, this peace and contentment while he was sitting in prison. That's not what he says. He didn't say that. He didn't say that at all. He said it twice. He said, I have learned. Okay. I have learned. Basically, he treated peace and contentment as a learnable skill. And then he said, I have learned. And he went on to talking about how he had learned to have peace and contentment in any situation, blah, 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 blah. I won't go into all of that. And then he stated again a couple sentences later, I have learned. And then he talked about peace and contentment and how he's learned. Oh my gosh, that was so empowering to me that I didn't have to wait to be gifted peace and contentment, that God had given me the ability, if I truly wanted, to go out there and put the frickin' work in. And so I did. And so that's what I have. So anyways, that was super, super empowering to me that I didn't have to wait for something. I could just, if I wanted it, I can go out there and actually put the work in and the study in and the application in and all those types of things. And that changed my life, completely changed my life, saved my life, to be honest with you. James 1:2 through 8. It's about faith and endurance. You can read it certainly if you'd like to, but it's just a verse that has meant some things to me over the years. Then from there, I just reminded myself, if I could have a library with every book from any given authors, I would read every book that I can get my hands on with Thich Nhat Hanh, which is an author I did not resonate with years ago, and now he's become hardcore. He's just become my biggest hero and influence as far as mindset is concerned. And then the other one is Og Mandino. I've got every one of his books sitting right up there. I know that some people know Og Mandino as a business book author. Go read every one of his books from beginning to end, no exception, and tell me that you still think that he's talking about business. It's a lot more than that, guys. So he's a huge influence for me. And you're going to see some of his writings here in a minute. But the next quote is my own quote to myself. Again, if I don't like the taste of my own words back in my mouth, I should not be talking like this. So I don't care that much about what brings me joy. I care more about what has the opportunity to steal my joy. I care less about what brings my wife joy. I care more about what has the opportunity to steal her joy. What we focus on is what could possibly steal someone's joy. And from there, if we dealt with what steals joy, the only thing that's left when that's gone is the joy that remains. So what is stealing your joy? Experiencing more joy is not just about finding what brings you joy and doing more of it. Okay. It starts with being self-aware of what is stealing our joy and dealing with that first. You don't figure out what's stealing your joy and then deal with adding more joy first. Deal with what's stealing your joy and deal with that first. The removal of these things will automatically provide you with the results that you thought adding more joy would bring. Now, some of you may not agree with every single statement I'm saying here. I don't care. Okay. These are definitely core to just who I am and the way I think, and I throw them in my face on a regular basis. So then the 10 scrolls. The 10 scrolls and the 4 agreements are the last part of this thing. 10 scrolls. 10 scrolls is from the greatest salesman in the world. That's one of the best-selling books in history, but I will say this is I think it should be even sold way more than what it is. And I think the reason why it doesn't get sold even more than what it's already been sold is due to the fact that it talks about a salesman. And so people think it's a sales book. It's not a freaking sales book. You could apply it to sales. You could apply it to your marriage. You could apply it to anything. And the key principles that are in there are crazy good. The reason why it's called the greatest salesman in the world is because the key, what do you call it, subject or person, whatever character, there it is. The key character in the book is someone that is dealing with the greatest salesman in the world and becomes the greatest salesman in the world. So this is about who the actual characters are. But the book is misleading in the title. It's I wrote in here, I don't see it as a sales book. I consider it a love story of a man who desires to be his best so that he can earn the right to ask a woman's father for his daughter's hand in marriage. In his culture, he had to be able to prove, because he was in love and he wanted to ask for her hand in marriage, but he had to ask the father, and he knew that to go to the father, he had to be able to prove that he could provide and take care of his daughter. And so he went to someone that was making good money, was known as the greatest salesman in the world, and then from there said, can you teach me how? Because if I can't learn how to do this, I cannot marry the woman I love. And then that particular person, who was the greatest salesman in the world, said, if you go ahead and you apply these 10 concepts, you will have everything I've had and then some. And then that's what these 10 scrolls are. My favorite scroll, or the one that hits me the hardest, it's amazing when people read this. A lot of us come up with different answers. So I'll just give you mine, and you can see it's bolded with a heart, which is, I will be the master of my emotions today. Self-control. What the frick does that have to do with sales? Plenty, but it also has plenty to do with personal relationships, with marriage, with being a business owner, being a leader, everything else like that. Okay. The 4 agreements: be impeccable with your words. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best. So that is what is on that calendar invite every single Tuesday morning at 7:30. And you could wake me up in my sleep and I could basically quote anything on here, because these are the things that I've been following for quite a few years now. So I hope that helps someone answer some questions. People asking, what are those core concepts and principles? Right now, I just changed the title to be foundational principles. And the reason why, my title was getting too long. So I edited it down. I consider this a living, breathing document. I change it on a regular basis. I did get noticed this week because I was trying to edit a little bit of this and add something, and it told me I was at my limit. You can only have so many words in here, but you'll notice I milk it for all it's worth. So anyways, I hope that has value to someone, but that is what is in my calendar once a week. And these are some of my core concepts and principles that I preach to myself. So anyways, guys, have a great day. Take care.